What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Part of the Problem. I am Dave Smith. He is Robbie the Fire Bernstein. And we are not live, but we are together and we are recording.
The drones are shutting down our communications.
I mean, let's not rule it out. Let's not rule it out. It is a possibility. But yes, we're having some tech issues with the site, so no live stream today. These things happen. I do apologize, but we will be recording an episode for you guys to all get. So, you know.
I can't believe I came all the way out to Jersey to be in the past.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a little disappointing.
Well, the drones have changed everything. You went from a non-drone state to a drone state. And you thought everything was going to be the same. Do you like this, by the way? It's never in frame of Trump, but my father-in-law got me this. It's a bobblehead Trump as Terminator.
I pray to that every night.
I thought it was cute. Fucking cut some government spending, goddammit. By the way, we should...
or at least send him out like that to take down the drones. He should personally get on the back of a bike with a shotgun. Come on, tell me that wouldn't be some cool first footage. First thing in office, personally going out and shooting drones like you're ski shooting.
Listen, if that ends up happening, then we're off to a good start.
Yeah, the government space chariot. I'm sure Elon Musk has some flying car that they haven't released yet, and that could be I mean, that's a win all around. Donald Trump flying around in Elon Musk's flying car. You roll out the flying cars and you shoot down the drones personally.
Listen, this is why we got to get you in the cabinet, Rob, because you're the guy who comes up with these ideas. I wasn't going to think of it. I did like, on a more serious note, seeing on Twitter that it looks like our good friend of the show, who's been on several times, Thomas Massie, the best congressman in America by far. Looks like he's going to be working with the Doge boys over there.
Stacking the Doge card.
So, you know, we got Ron Paul as an advisor, Thomas Massie getting on board with it, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk. Now
they just need David Stockman.
Get Stockman on there for sure. Although, honestly, I mean, you know, Ron Paul knows all that stuff too, so that's fine. We'll see. I'm interested to see what Doge is actually able to accomplish, and if anything. As we've said several times before, I mean, you got a team of very capable, very intelligent people over there. But man, if nothing else, I just love this stuff being inserted back into kind of like the popular discussion, and it's really something that would have been impossible to predict like a year ago if I told you Trump was going to make up a fake department and then put all these people there. But I saw it just yesterday. I saw on Twitter that Elon Musk just tweeted another Ron Paul clip and was like, Ron Paul, spot on, you know, as always. And you just to his like, what, I don't know how big his Twitter account is, but it's tens of millions of people. And you're just like, geez, man, it is pretty damn cool to have this, you know, debatably second to Trump, most influential, most famous kind of person putting out like this hardcore, you know, libertarian message, like peering our leader, you know, like his message out to the world. Just incredible. It's an incredible time to be alive. And that obviously there's lots of issues that we still have to deal with, but that is, I got to say, pretty encouraging. Also I don't mean to be self-serving with it at all, but I do think it's, that alone, let's say we had nothing else, just the Doge stuff, no, you know, pardons or anything else. The libertarians who supported Donald Trump are looking better and better. It's just looking like, oh yeah, this way. Because I mean, even just that, it's that's more than you get with anyone else. That's it. Ron Paul's message is being amplified by one of the most influential human beings to ever live and the richest person to ever live. That's a pretty big deal. And you know, if that had been achieved by the Libertarian Party, I don't think I think all of the people in the Libertarian Party would just be taking credit for it and talking about how awesome it is. But the fact is it was achieved by supporting someone from a different party. And okay, you may not love that, but the goal should never be which vehicle achieved success. And again, I'm not saying this is, I'm not trying to spin it into something it's not. I'm not saying like we've cut government spending, but to get this message amplified like that's what we've all been in the business of trying to do. So pretty incredible. Anyway, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what Doge is actually able to do. I'm kind of optimistic about it. If nothing else, they're going to be giving proposals that I think are going to be pretty awesome. There's also, weirdly, I think there is to some degree an advantage to the fact that it's outside of government. You know what I mean? And the advantage to that is like...
It won't take 3 years to get a single report that mostly brushes it under the rug and goes, oh, well, we did a full review and it looks like we're actually doing okay with spending. I mean, there's too much, but we recommend no changes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. It's like once you're inside the apparatus of government, things just work in a certain way. And that's basically it. And then the recommendation becomes like, well, we're recommending spending freezes. Or we're recommending, the old Paul Ryan thing that he used to do. And the Democrats would flip out and be like, he's suggesting these major cuts. But what he would be suggesting was cuts to future increases in spending. So like if they have a projection of spending over the next 20 years and it's increasing by 5 trillion, he'd go like, let's only increase by 4 trillion. And they'd be like, he's cutting $1 trillion out of the budget. You're like, no, he's not. No, he's not. He's actually increasing by 4 trillion, and the numbers are, I'm just making up these numbers for the sake of the example. But anyway, when they're outside of government, maybe it's possible that we'll see something like, proposals for actual spending cuts, not this like, okay, you can't touch military and you can't touch entitlements and you can't touch my other 3 pet projects, but you can cut $2 million out of the, whatever budget. It's maybe they'll actually have some good recommendations and get Americans thinking about the fact that, yeah, you could actually have severe, drastic cuts in government spending that would make the American people's lives much better. So we will see. We will see on that. All right. So there is a just wonderful story coming out of CNN. And when I shouldn't say coming out of CNN, it's kind of about CNN. But it's funny because, you sent me this article today, Rob, as I was just looking over it a few hours ago. And so you sent me the Zero Hedge article. The title, it was written by Tyler Durden. That's who writes all the articles.
Prolific author.
He is unbelievable. This guy cranks out material left and right, and handsome fellow as well.
Great abs, world class,
incredible, and he's willing to throw down, which is one of the things I really respect about him. Okay, so the title of the article is it's the waste of the day, which is like a recurring piece that they have there. $267 million spent on fighting, quote, misinformation. The federal government has recently spent $267 million on grants meant to suppress supposed misinformation, according to this new report from openthebooks.com. So anyway, if you just think about the fact that the government is spending hundreds of millions of your tax dollars to fight misinformation, which is, as I was reading this article this morning, I was kind of thinking about maybe in a way that I haven't thought about it before, but I was like, really, that's what we do. We fight misinformation. Like that's kind of the whole thing of this show. It's always like pointing out like this guy's giving you information that's bad. This is bad information. This is bad information. So it's wild to see, the government spending hundreds of millions of dollars on this topic. And there's still quite a bit of misinformation out there. Anyway, speaking of misinformation, I guess we needed $268 million because they missed this piece, which let's play the video. This ran on CNN. Can't make this stuff up. Let's jump into it. No problem.
I'm a civilian, he says. I'm a civilian.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
He tells the fighter he's from the city of Homs and has been in the cell for 3 months. Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. He clutches my arm tightly with both hands. Okay. Does anyone have any water? Water. My. Okay, it's water. It's water. Okay. Okay. Okay, you're okay.
Lady should get an Oscar for pretending like she cares. I mean, the conversation they had off camera of, "Hey, can you find me a clean one? Can someone clean one up and throw them in there?"
Well, the thing about it is, and look, this is true in general with corporate media, but they are, even as you say it jokingly, like, can someone get her an Oscar? It's like, the thing is, they are actors. That is what this is acting. This is a performance by everybody involved, but they're not good actors. Like, as somebody I am not a good actor.
It's like a Showtime porn acting.
Yes.
Well, Cinemax, excuse me.
It is, look, when I first started stand-up comedy, it was still in the old world. This is like, I started stand-up in 2006, which was pre-revolution. This whole industry has been revolutionized, but I was in before it. And back then, MySpace was the social media thing. And like, some comedians had MySpace profiles, but many didn't. It wasn't like even viewed as a necessary thing to have. But what they used to do is, it was like the big thing for comedians was like, all right, well, you're doing stand-up. Can you write? Can you act? Because those were the things where it's like, well, if you can act, they'll send you out on auditions. And so like the first managers that I ever had sent me on several auditions. I've auditioned for parts before. And however bad you think I am as an actor, I promise you it was worse. Dude, I wish I had the tapes from some of these auditions. It was so brutal. I don't know. Whatever that skill is, I do not have it. And I'm so bad at it that you wouldn't even go like, oh, you really got to take some acting classes. You would go, you cannot do this. Like, it'd be like, just somebody like, if you were like, oh, I've never played basketball before. And they went out and they were just so bad that you were like, dude, there's no point in even like trying to get you better. This just isn't going to be your game. Like, that's it. But anyway, so I remember very clearly being like, whoa, I'm terrible at this. This is not for me. I also just had no interest in it. I don't really like acting. But when you see someone who's really great at it, it's an impressive skill. And when you realize, like, it's such a weird thing, because you're like, how are you so much better at playing pretend than me? That's all this is playing pretend. And like, somehow you're just really good at it and I'm not. But anyway, you just notice that you once you try to do it yourself and you're really bad at it, it kind of makes you appreciate, a little bit more like, he's good at it. You see like a good movie and you're like, yo, that guy's fucking an incredible actor. But you're watching this in this video right now. You're watching bad actors. I know what acting is. Now, by the way, and we'll play more of this, but there were so many giveaways that right away, as soon as all of us saw this video, we all knew. I was texting with Rogan a whole bunch about it before it was all admitted that it was bullshit. And he sent it to me. He goes, "Did you see this shit?" And I go, "Yeah, I saw it." And he goes, "Dude," and I was like, "I know." And it's because just very basic things where he goes, "Okay, so the claim is this guy was held in one of Assad's notoriously brutal prisons for 4 months." First off, just the way he stood up, you were like, "Nope. Nope, you have not been lying." Second of all, there's the room is clean. There's not feces. There's not, you know what I mean? It's like a clean room. And then to me, the most obvious one, they said that the claim was that he hadn't had food or water in 4 days. Pull up the video. Just look at his face. Let's just take a look at his face. Maybe even
start to walk.
Here, you could just play for a little bit until it comes here. Right there. Nope. Sorry. That's not the face of someone who hasn't had food or water in 4 days. I don't know. Like, if you've ever seen somebody. Okay, here's a good pull up. Natalie, if you could just Google real quick. Conor McGregor 145 weight cut. Okay? To see a picture, if you know what Conor McGregor normally looks like, look at a picture of Conor McGregor, maybe even if they have like a side-to-side one with his like yeah, because then you can kind of see like what he looks like and what someone looks like when they're cutting weight. The reason I bring this up is because essentially, so yeah, look at that. Okay. Now, by the way, look at that picture of Conor McGregor right there. Look at that. Now, when you cut, the reason I bring up cutting weight, this is for people who don't know, if you're not into MMA. So essentially what they do is they have weight limits, right? So you have weight classes. But so Conor McGregor there is fighting at 145 pounds, but Conor McGregor weighs like 170 pounds. So and this is what they all do, is they cut weight, they weigh in, then they rehydrate. Now, cutting weight is essentially dehydrating yourself. That's what you're doing. So when they say this guy hasn't had water in 4 days, this is what people look like if they haven't had water in 4 days. You are sucked out. You're gonna look like almost like I don't know what the word is. Skeleton like, you know? This guy, back to the CNN video, it just clearly is not, he has not gone 4 days without water. It's very obvious. You can look at his cheeks. Sorry, nope. That's not what a person looks like in that situation. Anyway.
He looks like every foreigner trying to find their way in Times Square.
Yes, that's right. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Monetary Metals. I've been telling you guys about this company for a while now. It's a great company run by great people, and they are truly revolutionizing the precious metal space. For a long time, people have owned silver and gold as an investment, as a hedge against inflation. But for the first time ever, because of Monetary Metals, you can now have your precious metals working for you to generate more ounces over time. So you not only own gold or silver, but you own gold or silver that's working for you to generate more gold and silver. If you're interested, you got to go check them out. You can click the link in the episode description, or you can go to monetary-metals.com to learn more. They also still have the silver bond offerings going on. Check it out. As I said, they have revolutionized this space. It's really incredible what they're doing. monetary-metals.com. All right, let's get back into the show. Anyway, so this is all an act, and they know it. They claim that the guy shot the prison door open, but the camera turns away when he shoots. Anyway, let's keep playing the video to get a little bit of say, which is how fake the whole thing is, how much this is all just theater, just acting.
Water. Okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. We start to walk him outside. Thank God you are safe.
The
Don't
film
be
crew's
afraid,
still rolling,
Frank
so I
says.
continue
You're
to touch
free.
the man.
This is the third prison they brought me to, he says. The third prison. After 3 months
I got
in a
this nice
windowless
jacket at this one.
cell, we can finally see the sky.
Oh, all right, so let's pause it right there. After months in a cell, he can finally see the sky. And yet the sun seems to have no impact on him. Did that set off any alarms for anybody? You are aware, I don't know if any of you guys have ever spent some time in a dark room and then walked out into the sunlight, but you're going to squint at least a little bit. So again, this is the point I'm making on picking up on all of these things. And there's, of course, like, you know, these days with the internet, there's people far smarter than me who pay attention to detail, who picked apart, you know, the 17 more things that were obvious giveaways. But the point is that even if, hypothetically, this CNN lady got fooled or something like that, there's no way, the amount of people, the amount of eyes that would have to be on this before it airs on CNN's network. And nobody picked up on these obvious tells. These obvious, it reminds me of, oh my God, maybe you could find this actually, Natalie. But if you Google MSNBC, Bloomberg gives all his money away. I want to say it was on Lawrence O'Donnell's show. there was, yeah, it may be, you know what, those might not be the best keywords to find it, but do you remember what I'm talking about? So this was like, I believe it was Bloomberg. So it was right around the time that Bloomberg was running for president. And they run, yeah, here we go. Let's wait for this clip to come up, because this was really an entertaining one. This is from, I guess, it would be 2020, right? Wasn't that when Bloomberg ran? Okay, so here it is. Yes, let's play it. This is just, okay, there's something really remarkable about this. So here, let's play this clip.
See it as a possibility if he wants to spend $1 billion.
I was with Brian Williams.
This guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way of putting it.
It's an incredible way of putting it.
It is quite literally an incredible way of putting it. I could not have said it better myself. I mean, and it's just, but you just go like the number of people. Listen, just as somebody who's done cable news a decent amount, right? The fact that they don't do it like we do it. They don't have me go, hey, Natalie, would you Google this for me? That's not the way things work in cable news. They don't do the Jamie pull that up stuff. They have this laid out already. At least 7 or 8 people had to look at this. And no one went, wait, what? Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me get the math on this right. You're telling me he could have, no. He could give everybody $1 and have money left over for lunch. Not $1 million. How do you get this so wrong? Like, and the thing about that one is that it's not just like, oh, I forgot to, carry the one or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not just a math mistake. It's that your entire worldview would have to be like right away. If I just said that to you, I'd go, wait, hold on. That can't be right. That can't quite be right. It can't be that he could give every single American $1 million and stuff. Like, that's not exact. That can't be the numbers of this. And again, it shows you this example is a little different. I think this is just, you see the incompetence of it. But in this one, I'm saying, like, even if they weren't just lying through their teeth, which they are, obviously, but how do you not have how does somebody not look at this and go, guys, we can't just rush to air with this. This is too crazy. I mean, this is just, at the very least, there'd be like some eyebrows raised. You wouldn't do what she's doing, which is just reporting it as if it is fact. As if it is like, first of all, you'd go like, okay, Al-Qaeda just took over the country, right? Who exactly am I getting this source from that we're just going to trust right away? You'd have a little bit of skepticism. But then, I mean, just look at this. Who would look at this and not know it's fucking fake? I mean, like, who would just look at this and not be like, oh, these are people acting. They are lying. These are a group of people all lying. But again, I guess maybe the bigger point here is like, and why? Why are they lying? I mean, it's fairly easy to see when if the corporate media is lying about how terrible Donald Trump is. It's like, well, why are they lying? It's because they want Joe Biden to win, or they want Kamala Harris to win. Like, you kind of say, when they're lying about the vaccine working in a way that it doesn't, you can't get COVID, you can't transmit COVID if you get the vaccine. Well, why are they doing that? Because they want you to get the vaccine, right? Like, you could figure, but so then what are they doing here? Like, what is the goal of the media? And it's very clearly is that they want to essentially rehabilitate Al-Qaeda. They want to convince you that what just happened in Syria is a good thing. Now, listen, Bashar al-Assad had these brutal prisons. Look at this poor guy who was there. He's free now. Because Assad is gone, he's free. See, things are better in Syria now than they were before. And, I mean, why on earth anyone would want to be in the business of rehabilitating Al-Qaeda's image. And people can give me whatever shit they want to about, it's so funny to see these people. I remember Kathy Young, who is, you know who she is? She's just the worst. She kind of floated in like libertarian-ish circles for a little bit. I think she might have written for Reason for a little bit. But she debated Scott Horton on Ukraine at Porkfest. And if you've never watched it before, it is, I mean, I've been a part of some pretty one-sided debates. It was the most one-sided debate I think I've ever seen. I mean, it was just, it was worse than Bill Kristol. Maybe not worse. They were both pretty bad. But they did, Gene Epstein does the Oxford-style debates. By the way, the Soho Forum, unbelievable debate series. If you're in the New York area, make sure to go check one out. It's run and moderated by the great Gene Epstein. But she literally, he does the Oxford-style debate. So you vote at the beginning where you stand on the resolution, and then you vote at the end, and they measure who moved more people. And she got one vote at the end, and it was the guy she came with. There was one person in the crowd who was like her, I don't know, her husband or boyfriend or friend.
The guy lying to try and bang her.
Yes, like that was the vote that she got, was the one. But it was just so overwhelming. But there's one point, it's so funny to watch them. But so there's one point where she goes to Scott. She's like, well, she goes, we could get it. She goes, it's probably not important to get into the Azov battalion. Like that could be a whole separate debate for itself. I don't really want to spend time on that now. And Scott goes, of course you don't want to spend time on that now. Of course you don't want to talk about that. And then she says something else. And he goes, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do they love Adolf Hitler? And she goes, well, and he goes, it's 10. The answer is 10. They love, like these are, for people who don't know, it's all covered in Scott's wonderful new book. But yeah, Ukraine has a real Nazi problem. And I don't know, honestly, I'm not sure exactly where that Nazi problem is today, because I do know that it's true that a lot of them were on the front lines in this fight. The Nazis, we're not talking Nazis here the way people call people in America Nazi. You know what I mean? It's not like the way people call Donald Trump Nazis. I'm talking about like swastika tattooed on your fucking shoulder.
Saying the Ukraine war actually got rid of Nazis? This whole time I've been talking about all these innocent soldiers that had to die, and really we just cleansed Ukraine of some Nazis?
Well, there were a lot of innocent soldiers too, but or innocent conscripts, whatever, however you want to think of them. But yeah, there were some Nazis that got killed in it for sure too. But Ukraine has had a long Nazi problem. As people, history nerds may know, Ukraine was once occupied by the Nazis, and a lot of them joined up with the Nazis. And, to some degree, it's kind of somewhat understandable. Like if you were living under Stalin and someone came in to liberate you, you might be on their side. So there was some of that. And then a lot of them were kind of like, oh, these Nazis aren't doing too much liberating around here, and turned against them later. But there were a whole bunch of people who really wanted the Nazis to invade beforehand, and then enthusiastically joined up, and then were Nazis all the way through, and their kids were Nazis and their grandkids were Nazis. Like that's and that's who the
third generation Nazis.
Yes. So anyway, and then Kathy Young in the debate, when he says that, she goes, yes, the Azov battalion started as a Nazi organization. It's evolved since then. And which is just like, what are you talking about? Like you would never, if there was a right-wing American group that was founded by a racist, you would never say to that, it'd be like on the level, dude, if I was just kind of like defending the Ku Klux Klan. And you were like, the Klan, didn't they burn crosses on black people's yards? And I was like, yeah, but when was the last time they've done that? It's a totally different organization today. Now, by the way, that is true, right? There is not violence from the Ku Klux Klan today at all, I don't think. Correct me, internet, if I'm wrong about that, but when was the last time you heard about a Klansman being violent? I don't think it exists. Yet if someone joins that group, you still go, I don't know, dude. You're a Klansman. Like, what are you talking about? Yet, well, for Nazis in Ukraine, somehow we'll make this this distinction. But it's the same thing here going on with Syria. Like they can say, oh, Giuliani's he's not in Al Qaeda anymore. And you're like, he was the emir of Syria, Al Qaeda's head guy in Syria for years. This is a true, real deal Bin Ladenite jihadist. And you tell me, work on this PR campaign that they're doing to like rehabilitate his image, like he's some type of moderate freedom fighting rebel. This is just absurd. And it's like insane to watch people do it. To watch people go like, wait, the only, again, to be clear here, the only real enemy that we have in this whole fight, Al Qaeda, the only ones who actually attacked America. I guess you could say ISIS, did some attacks too. But that's and CNN is on a campaign to rehabilitate them and just lying through their mouths. Anyway, Rob, you want to read another piece about why trust in the corporate media is evaporating? It must be because Rumble's filled with liars, right? That must be the answer.
And this story is even richer. It has a punchline. You would have thought it couldn't get any worse than them just fabricating a story.
Well, who the guy turns out to be.
It's now being reported that he was a actual torturer in these prisons.
Yeah.
And I guess a high-ranking torturer. It's an esteemed position in, when you're working for a dictator.
Would you mind just turn the heat down a little bit? There is something, and listen, I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying torture's bad. Don't torture people. If you're any of our listeners out there, if you were on the fence, if you were like, I might torture someone today, let me nudge you in the right direction here. Don't do it. It's not worth it. We've all been there, but it never works out well. That disclaimer being said, kind of impressed with that guy.
Oh, you mean just the sociopathness?
Dude, no, it's a balls out move to be one of Bashar al-Assad's torturers in one of his notoriously brutal prisons. And to just be torturing people in that prison, and then the regime falls and Assad flees, and then you just get under a blanket and you go, oh, liberators, thank you so much for coming and saving me. Like, that is something that you're like, that's incredible.
That's right out of a bank heist movie.
Yes,
yeah,
it
they're
really
trying
is.
to blend in with the hostages to get out.
Yeah, there's like that guy in one room, there's an Asian in a tiny box in another room, it's truly incredible. But again, I mean, I don't even know. It's such the whole thing is so cartoonish, but that you literally go, okay, so this is what's coming out of the cable news network. This is what's airing on CNN while our government has been spending hundreds of millions of dollars to fight disinformation over the last few years. And then just all of them sitting there, why are people trusting Joe Rogan? Why do people trust comedians on the internet over the mainstream media? Because none of us do that. Whatever that is, none of us are in the business of lying to you.
I'm mostly of the opinion that CNN is just another division of government, and that's why Brennan works there. It's just a different role within the CIA. And it seems like if there's one thing that the Biden administration did not do well was coordinate with the news networks. So, for example, pardoning his kid and bitching them all out on getting his back, or stepping out of the election right after they go, hey, you're actually just watching cheap fakes. This almost feels like someone at CNN had to call them up and be like, why didn't you give us warning? We could have gotten great footage of these prisons. And they're like, all right, I guess we can fake it.
Yeah.
All right, I guess, like, you know what I mean? The actual filmmakers were like, I guess we can, we'll try and find a guy. We'll figure it out. And then the best they could get was, and they couldn't even think to put the guy in prison clothes or go to Gaza, just recruit someone for a sandwich.
Yeah,
you
really.
can find someone who's hungry.
Yeah, you could find someone who actually looks like they haven't had food or water in 4 days.
And if you're gonna do propaganda on this level, where's Steven Spielberg? Get some good lighting that makes things look more torturous.
Well,
that just looked like my apartment.
I do remember CNN got busted for, I think it was. I do see if you could find this, Natalie. If you Google CNN fake Persian Gulf footage, I believe they got busted for this, but it was like they got away with it at the time, and then they, years later, I think someone got. I forget exactly how it went down.
My advice to the networks is hire uglier.
Yeah, here. Yeah, that's it.
My advice to the networks is to hire uglier
It
people.
could possibly.
Well, here you go.
Yeah.
Possibly have been a ground impact of a Scud. It could have been a ground impact of a Patriot, or it could have been the result of debris falling between the two of them. We just don't know right now, but we do know that at least 2 Scud missiles incoming were fired at Riyadh, and according to the Saudi military, they were both shot down. Charles Jaco, CNN, reporting live from Saudi Arabia.
What, that was just in studio? There's no palm trees in Saudi Arabia? What's the punchline?
Was almost exactly 2 hours ago when the sirens went off here in
Yeah,
Saudi
I guess
Arabia.
he's...
Where we are in eastern Saudi Arabia, there was no problem. However, there was an intercept elsewhere near the capital.
Hold on here. Yeah, skip ahead a little bit. You know, I don't exactly remember the details of this.
All right, we are now led to understand that there are also firings in another city in Saudi Arabia. CNN's Carl Rochelle is here with me. He just came up. Carl, I know we can't be very specific given these restrictions, but within those parameters, what did you see?
Well, what I saw, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, anyway, okay, we can turn this up. But yeah, it was a whole fake thing. And my point is just they've been in the business of doing this shit for a very long time. It's just like the constant theme of all of this, of the whole last year. It's like their inability to adjust to the new reality, where it's like you just can't do this shit anymore. There's a whole internet world out there now. And yeah, by the way, I mean, when you said it turned out to be one of the torturers, just to be clear, CNN admitted this. But CNN themselves went, yeah, we got it wrong. So it's just like the pressure they got from everyone online. And then everyone online has, all these people online have so much bigger audiences than CNN has. So it's just not, it's like, you know, I've said a few times before, it's like this game only works when you're giant and we're small. That's what the game relies on. But when we're bigger than you, you can't lie like this. Or at least you got to do a better job. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. As I've told you guys many times before, I have personally benefited from therapy in my life, and I know a lot of other people who have as well. And if you're on the fence, maybe you're thinking about starting therapy, but something's holding you back, well, let me tell you about BetterHelp, because BetterHelp is the easiest way to do it. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, and you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/problem today, and you'll get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/problem, BetterHelp.com/problem for 10% off your first month. All right, let's get back into the show.
People looking at that footage going, man, how could I get a meal at a Syrian prison?
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
More jokes like that. Jersey, Thursday night, and then Saturday in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And what else you got coming up?
That is it. But I put a lot of work into the Thursday show. Got it's like the end of year things I was doing. So come hang out for it.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And then of course me and Rob are going to be all over the place. That was good, right? We're going to be all over the place.
We're going to be in different locations.
There you go. I should maybe rattle off some of these dates here.
We're just going to arrive there.
Just added for this summer to Denver Comedy Works.
Wow.
So very excited to go do that. We're going to have a lot of fun out in that one. But
how many days we do in that place? Yeah, it's not important.
That I'll have to check. I think 3 days.
Wow.
I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's for our first time out there at that club. It's supposed to be one of the best clubs in the country. So very excited to go do that. But we will be in Bozeman, Montana, Louisville, Kentucky, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Key West, Buffalo, New York.
When are we doing Buffalo?
March 6th through 8th. And then back in Boston, back at the Chicago Zanies, Appleton, Wisconsin, Cleveland, Ohio, Spokane, and Tacoma again, and Tampa, back in Tampa, Florida. What was the other one? There was one other one that we just added, I think, that I can't remember now.
Hilarities, I remember you mentioned.
Yes, I mentioned Cleveland Hilarities. I'm excited to go back to that one. Denver Comedy Works. Yeah, there was one other one. Anyway, comicdavesmith.com for all of those ticket links. Okay, let's switch gears and go to one of these topics that I had. I did want to play this. This is from a couple days ago. found kind of interesting. More on a kind of similar theme of people in the corporate media world. This was Katie Couric and Jessica Tarlov talking about, kind of more on the theme of postmortem of what happened here. I will say, by the way, I've never met or been a fan of Katie Couric. I did like that documentary Fed Up that she made. I thought that was actually very good. I don't know if you ever saw that. Not familiar with it. As a document, I actually don't know if she made it or what her involvement was, but she like narrated the documentary. It was about the obesity epidemic in America, and she was actually they got into a lot of how corrupt the kind of whole government system is, and the like the food pyramid and all that propaganda that they put out, which is really as somebody who grew up on that, like that was a thing. I remember it being pulled up in my classroom.
Yeah, make sure you eat your bread.
Yes, this is literally what the government told people in the 90s. And I think it may have come out in the 80s, where they were like, you're going to want to limit your meat and vegetables. I'm not saying you can't have any of them, but like, don't go overboard with these meat and vegetables. You're going to want a lot of carbs. White bread, Cheerios. This is what you really... Live your life
like you're running a marathon tomorrow and you got a carb load.
Yeah, they literally were telling people to be addicted to sugar.
Like 8 servings.
Yes, an insane amount. Like it's just... and these are the people who are in charge of fighting misinformation, by the way, but the documentary was really powerful. It also, it showed, like, it followed a few of these like obese kids. And it was just so...
Thunder thighs.
Oh, dude, it was so sad though. Like there's these kids who are like just morbidly obese and they're like 7. And it does that. One of the things that's powerful about that is that you go like, look, you could kind of say whatever you want to. When it comes to adults, it's very easy, particularly with fat people, because, people have their own kind of impulses about how they view somebody who's like morbidly obese. And it's very easy to say like, get your life together, man. Come on, this is a decision. And to some degree, that's true. But when you're talking about little kids, it is very much different. You're like, no, that kid is just a victim. It was not their job to fucking make sure that they didn't become morbidly obese by age 7. That's not right, And what you do, one of the things you see in the documentary, I'm going off on a tangent here, but it is like the level of ignorance that some of these parents would have, where they really didn't seem like bad people. They just, so they just do, there'd be like this fat mom with her like morbidly obese son. And she's like, we're trying to do everything we can. Like he likes Hot Pockets. So I get him the lean pockets, and it's like, that's this mother's conception of like what healthy eating is like, instead of getting Hot Pockets, I got the lean pockets. So your kid is just eating this microwave. There's one scene where there's this obese girl and they're sitting there being interviewed for a documentary about her kid's health. And they're going over, and she starts her morning with a bowl of Pops. You remember the cereal?
Yeah.
Corn Pops?
Delicious.
And it's just like,
gotta have my Pops.
That is what they said. But anyway, and she goes to, the documentary was kind of good. And they go through the Michelle Obama thing, which was really interesting. So essentially when Michelle Obama comes in to the White House, her first thing that is going to be her big initiative that she's going to is like healthy kids, and which is such a great first lady thing to do, because who could be offended by that? You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, everyone can agree. Like, let's get these kids healthy. And she had, I forget what they called it, but she had this whole campaign to like get kids eating good and get them. And you just see the way it works.
If
so,
I can be a man looking like a lady, you can be we can turn your kid skinny.
That's right. She goes, biology isn't real, evidently. So, but you see the way it comes. It's like immediately all the big corporate money starts flowing in. Coca-Cola and McDonald's and all of them are like, we love your initiative. We're going to donate $10 million to it, blah, blah, blah. And in fact, we're even going to give you some of our experts to help craft the thing. And then it ends up being the calorie in, calorie out thing, which was all just a big scheme by these big companies. And it's like, it's just like the COVID stuff. It's science-y. It's kind of science. It kind of smells like science. You're like, yeah, isn't that it? It's really a matter of how many calories you consume versus how many you burn. But what's very convenient about that is that you're like, yeah, but calories of what? Which calories? Because, you know, if you have calories from almonds or calories from a Big Mac, it's not exactly the same. Now, is it?
I would say as a compulsive eater who deals with the fats, comes from a long line of fats. The bigger problem with the calorie in, calorie out perspective is the addictive quality of food. So if you're giving the kid, you're saying, hey, it doesn't matter what he eats. So as long as it's under this amount of calories, hand him the chocolate cake and the Coca-Cola, as long as it's a small portion, you're getting a kid who's now wired for, I need more chocolate cake and Coca-Cola.
No, well, that's 100% true. But then in addition to that, it's not as if you have, and they go through this in the documentary, but if you have like X amount of calories of a Big Mac, and then you have X amount of calories of like chicken breast, you can burn off the chicken breast calories way quicker than you can burn off you know what I'm saying? So it's not even like, it's a whole different equation. Anyway, that being said, I did kind of like that documentary. Jessica Tarlov, the other person in this interview, full disclosure, I've met many times and I like her very much. She's a very nice person. She is and I don't mean to say this in an insulting way, but she's the token liberal at Fox News, or I don't know if she still works at Fox News, but she did for many years. And she's essentially, she's there to lose. That's kind of the business model. We have to pretend that we have one liberal here, you know? So it'll be 4 conservatives against her, and then they all beat up on her every day. But there is something about that. I just, every time I ever met her, she was always like just very nice person and very kind and sweet. And I guess you have to be the liberal at Fox News. But she got, you know, anyway, so I have nothing bad to say about her. Aside from maybe disagreeing with her politics. But anyway, let's play that clip because I did find this interesting.
On the immigration front, there was a tendency amongst Democrats, and especially Democrats who are discussing the issue, so people who do interviews or are part of the media, to minimize it over the first 2.5 years when there were a lot of people coming in here. And I thought that it was a stunt, you know, when they started busing migrants. They go to Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
It was the smartest thing they ever did.
Well, it's interesting because I have a friend who lives in Florida, and I said, what did you think of Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott taking some of these immigrants and moving them to northern states? And she said, I thought it was great because nobody really was paying attention before that. And I do think that this untold story was the strain on social services and communities, particularly along the border, this huge influx of immigrants was having. And I think the mainstream media, however you define that these days, kind of ignored that story to its peril.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're certainly right about that. I did think that was I thought that was one of like the better moments that I've heard out of like people in the corporate media world giving a postmortem, because they're actually dealing with one of the major issues that moved people. I would just say, in addition to the point that they made, what you want to get yourself into thinking about if you're people like Jessica and Katie here, it's like, why were you not able to see that at the time? Why did you minimize it? Me and you sat here on this show and called it the most brilliant political stunt we had ever seen. It was brilliant. It was undeniable. And it just so clearly worked. The second they went there, everyone at Martha's Vineyard was outraged and they got rid of them the next day. Yeah, no kidding. You gave the whole game away. This is, there used to be a popular phrase when I was a kid called limousine liberals. And this is much like the term liberal, this has kind of gone out of style. But this is a huge, huge component to progressivism in general. And it's something that makes voters white hot angry, and justifiably so. And this dynamic exists all over the place. all over the place. Where and the reason why limousine liberal was an attack is not simply an attack like, oh, you're rich and you drive in a limousine. The point was that you advocate for policies that you yourself are completely removed from the repercussions of. Other people have to suffer through the repercussions of these policies. And you see this all over the place, right? You see all of these people who advocate for
global warming jet travelers.
Yeah, well, exactly. They're a great example. I advocate for climate change, but I fly on a private jet. I advocate for open borders, but I live in a gated community. I advocate for gun control, but I have armed security guards. I advocate for degeneracy being taught in public schools, but I send my kids to private schools. This is all over the place. It's constant. That we saw during COVID, the people advocating for mask mandates going out in public without masks. It's like there is something about that level of hypocrisy. And it's not just hypocrisy, because hypocrisy is one thing. Hypocrisy is like contradicting what your stated views are. But this is actually imposing disastrous consequences on other people while you yourself don't have to suffer through them, and then acting like you're morally superior to somebody for enforcing that. So everybody in border towns across this across the southern border have had to live through these policies, and they get called bigots by these people in Martha's Vineyard. But then the first day that there's an influx of migrants to Martha's Vineyard, they're all up in arms, and it actually gets taken care of. Of course that's going to move voters. Listen, I do have to wrap up because I got to go watch my kid. Because my wife's got to go pick up the other one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry about the mishap with the live episode. We'll make sure to fix that for tomorrow. All right, catch you guys next time. Peace.